Both Terence Crawford and Jaron Ennis has a fight coming up, with Jaron Ennis fighting before Terence Crawford in July, and Terence Crawford fighting a month after Jaron Ennis in August. So we'll compare their performances. Jaron Ennis is fighting Cody Crowley. Jaron Ennis is the champion. Terence Crawford is fighting Israel Madrimov, and Israel Madrimov is the champion. Terence Crawford is attempting to become a 4-weight world champion. Jaron Ennis is defending his belt as he became a champion via email. Anyway, we're going to look at their stats. Crawford's 36 years old, but he's aged like fine wine. He's the same age Floyd Mayweather defeated Canelo Alvarez. Maybe this is Terence Crawford, Canelo Alvarez, and Jaron Ennis. Jaron Ennis is 26. They're 10 years apart. Jaron Ennis is 5'10", Crawford is 5'8", and so on. I'm saying this because I just hope Eddie Hearn isn't clout chasing, but isn't using the man name to sell Ennis. And he's serious about making Crawford versus Ennis, even though there's been reports of Crawford versus Nello at the end of the year, or the beginning of 2025, according to His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh. So we'll see, whether Crawford fights Ennis or Crawford fights Nello. Whichever fight comes first, I'm all for it. Both guys, both Ennis and Bud is fighting this year. We're going to compare their performances. We know Jaron Ennis has the easier fight, so he's having the easier fight with Cody Crowley. He should look more dominant, right? Only time will tell, because Cody Crowley is a slick fighter, and Jaron Ennis doesn't really do well with slick fighters. So if Cody Crowley uses lateral movement really well, it could be a tricky fight for Ennis. So I just hope Ennis went back to the lab after that Karen fight and worked on ring generalship and cutting off the ring. Because if he looks bad in his homecoming fight versus Cody Crowley, his first title defense, I don't think a lot of people is going to be clamoring for him to fight Crawford, because we know Crawford's going to shine August 3rd. He always does. The guy puts on spectacular performances over and over, yet he's underappreciated, undervalued, and disrespected by boxing fans. I mean, look at what happened today. ESPN literally put Naoya Inoue ahead of Terence Crawford on the pound-for-pound list. That makes absolutely no sense. It's so disrespectful, bro. I'm so disgusted when I was so disgusted when I seen the pound-for-pound list. How can you put Naoya Inoue, a guy in a little weight class where a lot of people doesn't even pay attention to? How can you put that guy ahead of Crawford? When we look at the two, we look at their resume. Crawford is 40 wins and 31 KOs. Freaking Inoue only has 27 fights, bro. How can you put a guy with 27 fights ahead of a guy with 40 fights who was the first to become undisputed in the 4-belt era and the first to become 2-time undisputed in the 4-belt era? Dominant performances after dominant performance. How can you put that guy ahead of Crawford? That doesn't even make sense. I remember they were doing that nonsense with Vasily Lomachenko when the guy only had 10 fights. Now they're doing it with Inoue. But I don't want to get off topic. Let me get back to Jaron Ennis and Bud. I'll talk about that in a separate video. But I'm going to go off on that one. But Crawford is looking to put on a spectacular performance like he did when he moved up and took on Jeff Hearn, who arguably beat Manny Pacquiao and took his WBO belt. And Manny Pacquiao refused to fight Jeff Hearn. Crawford, in his first fight, showed Manny Pacquiao that his levels to boxing How do people forget so fast? Do y'all remember Crawford's very first fight was against Jeff Hearn, a guy who took Manny Pacquiao to deep waters, had Manny Pacquiao bleeding, and we're talking about a younger Pacquiao too, not an older Pacquiao that fought Keith Thurman. This was before Pacquiao even beat Keith Thurman, bruh. Do y'all realize that? Jeff Hearn beat Pacquiao before he beat Keith Thurman. How do boxing fans forget that? And Jeff Hearn couldn't win one round. Like, he couldn't win a single round against that man right there, Terence Crawford. Now Crawford looks to make history in another division after being held hostage at 147 for 5 years. The man wanted to unify the division, but Earl Spence and the rest of the guys were being cowards, hiding behind their promoters, saying you're on the wrong side of the street, which is highly disrespectful and cowardly. But anyway, Terence Crawford looks to put on a spectacular performance against Israel Madrimov to become a 4-division world champion and solidify himself in history. And in a couple more fights, he can become undisputed at 154 if he doesn't leave 154 to fight the likes of Canelo Alvarez. But with a Canelo Alvarez fight, he could become undisputed in one fight. That's even better. But anyway, I really want to say this, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. I hope Eddie Hearn is serious once again about making Jaron Ennis versus Terence Crawford. I hope Eddie Hearn isn't playing when he says he wants to do that. Because if he's playing, that's crazy. Completely clout chasing this man. Every chance he gets, he mentions Terence Crawford versus Jaron Ennis. That's ridiculous, bro. Jaron is completely unproven, yet you want to mention that guy in the same breath as Terence Crawford. It's like throwing away your investments, bro. Why would you want to put a future pound-for-pound king in the ring with a current pound-for-pound king? Like Canelo made the mistake of getting in the ring with Floyd Mayweather. Yes, it taught him a lesson, but he got a schooling of his life. That's what's gonna happen to Jaron Ennis. But the difference from Floyd Mayweather and Terence Crawford is punching hard in both hands. So Terence Crawford can literally derail Jaron Ennis' career. Because if Jaron Ennis gets in the ring with Terence Crawford punishes this kid, he may not have the confidence to come back. He may not want to fight again. Because even though Mayweather gave Canelo a schooling, right? Mayweather gave Canelo a schooling. Canelo wasn't really hurt. His confidence wasn't destroyed. He could have came back. Crawford is a vicious knockout artist. When he smells blood, it's over. If Jaron Ennis fights Crawford, the fight's not going the distance. The kid is going to get knocked out. How will he bounce back from a knockout loss? At least when you fight Mayweather, you go to the distance, you could come back like Canelo was able to do. Canelo's never been knocked out. But if Jaron Ennis gets knocked out by Crawford, it's going to be a bad look. The kid may never have that confidence no more to come back to the sport of boxing like he once was. He may be gun shy. He's never been in a situation like that before where he was outmatched. And honestly, since Eddie doesn't know anything about boxing like that, if he wants to put that kid in the ring with Crawford, he needs to make it happen immediately. Because I'm sick and tired of boxing fans overrating this kid, putting him on a pedestal where he doesn't belong. It's time for him to get a humble beating to bring him back to reality. And I'm all for it. So hopefully Eddie Hearn isn't punk faking and not just using Bud name for clout and willing to make the fight after both get past their opponents if Crawford doesn't fight Canelo Alvarez.